Need to improve your club on Ultimate Team? Check out auziomf for safe and reliable coins with the link in the description. Get an extra 5% discount with code NA. What's good, y'all? In this video, I'm going to show you guys the updated 4-3-3-5 that's been updated for the most recent patch in mind. This formation is going to be executing what made this formation good previously, and we're going to be building off the strengths that was the reason why this formation became one of the best formations on FIFA as of late. Understandably, this formation was so good because it was a really good possession-based tactic and formation because it allowed for a lot of passing options. However, even though the recent patch made that less of an issue, with midfield congestion being solved, we're going to make sure this formation is still a very good formation with this video. And we're going to allow this formation to still compete with the 4-3-2-1, the 4-4-2, and then 4-2-3-1 and things like that. So starting off, obviously ignore my team. I was doing a lot of objectives as of late. So don't worry about the team. This is not the team that I use for weekend league. But going straight to the team, we're going to start off with custom tactics. I have it set to my ultra attacking and balanced on defensive style with 45 width and 60 depth. 45 width, if you watch all my defensive videos, anything with 4 defenders, 45 width is probably all you really need. But with depth, again, we're using 60 and we're not using 71 anymore, primarily because 71, it's still very strong. However, if you're not as good as the game, the recent nerf did make 71 depth a little bit harder to use. So if you're a very good defender and you want to play like a rat a little bit still, you can obviously still use 71 depth. However, I'm creating this formation to be usable by everybody. So 71 depth might be hard for you, so you can use 60 depth. But if you're like Div 3 above and you want to use 71 depth, go right ahead. You can use 71 depth. But you might still be called a rat by the community. It's up to you how you want to play. But yeah, 60 depth primarily because you still get the benefits of a high line and you still get some of the benefits that come with 71 depth. However, you're using 60 depth and you can say that you're not a rat. So yeah, 60 depth. Build up play balance with chance creation on direct passing. Every single 4-3-2-1, 4-4-2, 4-4-3-3, all of those formations. I don't see a point using anything that isn't balance and direct passing. That's the best. And with width 44, I believe, I don't remember, but I believe the old 4-3-3-5 also used 44 width. And basically, it gets more complex as we get to the player instructions, but basically we choose exactly 44 primarily because we want the inside wingers or the wingers to cut in and make through runs in between the center back and the fullback rather than on the outside of the fullback, because we want the through runs to allow for shooting opportunities right after. And when we have the wingers go in between the fullback and the center back, you can get a through ball in between. And you have to remember, because there's no striker in this formation, there's going to allow for a lot more opportunities for those wingers to tuck in a lot closer and play like 2 strikers in the attack and in the counter attack. So we're allowing them to get more shooting opportunities, basically. 6 players in the box, and we'll go over why when we get to instructions. You'll notice that we're going to use 6 players in the box for a reason. And then corners and free kicks obviously is personal choice. Before I continue and show you guys the player instructions, I wanted to take a second to mention a few things. Firstly, only 6% of y'all are subscribed, and if you like the tactics I make and you want to stay up to date with future formations I make, feel free to subscribe. It's low-key kind of crazy that it's only 6%, so let's bump up that number. Additionally, I'm building a FIFA community on Discord, so if you're looking for a place to discuss things like squad building, trading, or anything FIFA related, check out my server with the link in the description. And also, if you'd like to find me on any other platforms like Twitter, Twitch, or anything, all of those links you can find in the descriptions as well. Going into player instructions, starting from defense, you can experiment with this, comes across as a sweeper keeper. I don't think it makes a gameplay difference, honestly. If it does, it must be placebo, because I don't notice a difference, honestly. Either way, you're going to be using your right stick anyways most of the time when it comes to manually controlling your keeper, so this won't make a gameplay difference as far as I'm aware. Both your center backs obviously untouched, and then your left back and your right back. This is where things will get a little bit more complicated if you're new to this formation or if you're new to FIFA formations to begin with. However, what we're going to do, we're going to start with understanding which fullback is a better attacking fullback. For me, it's going to be Marcos Llorente because he has a lot of passing, dribbling, and shooting stats. So we have him on balanced attack and mixed attack on the run type. In the old 4-3-3, this run type was set to overlap. If it was set to overlap for you, you want to change it back to mixed attack. The reason why we say this is because with overlap, that fullback, when he makes that run, because he has balanced attack, so he chooses when he wants to run. When he makes that run, he's going to run for the overlap, and the problem with that is it's going to make that balanced attack feel like a join the attack, because there's always a ton of space in the attack on the closest to the touchline. So if you have him on balance attack overlap, it's gonna feel the same as join the attack overlap, because he's always gonna find space. However, with mix attack, it's gonna give him basically the instructions to go towards the middle whenever he can. and that's going to be way more limited because he's not going to go down the middle if there's obviously players in the middle. He's going to attack a little bit, but he's not going to attack as much. So that way, you're not as a risk on the counterattack. The reason why we're being way more careful now is because the recent patch basically made attacking fullbacks way weaker. They're way more risky on the counterattacks because they track back very slowly. So we want these players to not attack all the way, but we still want them to help in the attacks to begin with. We're also making sure that the left fullback or the other fullback to begin with is on stay back while attacking overlap, because with overlap, it's going to keep him, because you have to understand that with stay back while attacking, there's still going to be moments where he pushes up a little bit, especially if you trigger a run with him in context-based situations. So we just want him to stay close to the touchline as possible, because we don't want him going towards the midfield at all, because we don't need this guy to attack at all, unless you want him to attack when you manually control him yourself. But we don't need him to push up when we don't need him to, and we also don't need him to join the midfield, because you notice this formation will have a very strong midfield. You don't need him to help in midfield at all, so overlap will keep him closest to the touchline, and this will counter players that abuse cutbacks on this wing, so keep that in mind. So you want this guy right here to be stay back while attacking and overlap. And then going to your CDM, this right here, just like the old formation, this right here is going to be your defensive anchor, as well as playing that playmaker and distributor of the ball. So you're going to want a player with very good speed, very good defending stats, and very good passing. And you're also going to want a player that's very comfortable on the ball as well. There's a lot of players I could recommend, but really you just want to play that has really good defensive stats and really good distributive stats. And with that, I have Toure right here because he's a very good CDM and he can also pass the ball really well. You're going to want him to cut passing lanes, stay back while attacking, and cover center. And with this, he's going to basically never push up, and he's going to play that center mid role where he's basically like the commander for the entire attack. When he gets the ball at his feet, you'll notice that everybody else is going to be in front of him. All your attacking options are going to be in front of him. So when you get the ball with this guy, take your time and allow your team to make movement, make runs, and send precise passes with him. You'll notice that when he has the ball, if you're just a little bit more patient, you'll notice that he will be able to distribute a lot of great passes as long as you can see them. And then from here, again, this is where it gets a little bit more complicated as well. You have the left mid and the right mid. Fundamentally, you have to understand that the left mid, to keep it brief and easy, the best way to look at this is you're going to have one midfielder that's a number 8 and another midfielder that's a number 10. Now, in the previous video, I did suggest that you have a player with the finesse shot trait play with the attacking stats. However, with the finesse shot being nerfed, it's not as mandatory or needed anymore. And you also don't need to have a fourth winger or a fourth attacking player right here. So you can actually have like 3 actual midfielders rather than having Salah the way I do. However, obviously, I still do it because I have him on the team and I can't really take him out to begin with. But basically, all I have to do, all that really matters right now is the fact that you're going to have one midfielder on balanced attack, cover center, and another midfielder on get forward, cover wing. Keep him on balanced crossing, which is really important, but get forward. The reason why he's on cover wing now is because that allows him to play as an actual 10 in terms of the defense, because now he's going to be drifting around and going into unique positions rather than being so locked into playing that 3-man midfield. And he's going to be wider as well. And it's also going to allow these 2 other midfielders, because he's opening up a position back in the middle. It's going to allow Toure to shift a little bit to the right and then allow Modric to tuck in a little bit more in the defense. So it's also going to turn this defense into a 4-4-2. So if you know the 4-3-2-1, how it's so good defensively is because when you defend, it goes back to a 4-4-2. This basically just allows it to turn into a 4-4-2 as well in defense. And 4-4-2 system is probably the best way to defend in this game. So allowing that formation to do its thing, allowing Salah to be on that cover wing is going to be very, very beneficial. Now keep in mind, player that you want on get forward needs to be the player that is on the same side of the fullback that's on balanced attack. So notice how I put Marcos Llorente on balanced attack. You're going to want the center mid closest to him to also be on get forward. And then the left side would be on balanced attack while the midfield or the fullback next to it's on stay back while attacking, if that makes sense. And then obviously, now that we mentioned him, your other center mid is going to be the number 8. He's also going to be primarily a CDM that runs box to box. So, you know, Kante works as well. But you're going to want him on balanced attack, cover center. And like I said, box to box, he's going to be everywhere. So you're going to want a well-rounded player. A player that has 80 plus on every single stat, because he's going to be doing everything. He's going to be shooting, passing, defending, everything. So you're going to want him to be good at everything you possibly can. Zidane would be a really good option for this if you put a shadow on him, but I can't afford him just yet. So, you know, this will do for right now. And then your 2 wingers, both of them are going to be on comeback on defense, cut inside, get in behind, and get into the box for cross. The only difference from the previous formation is that the comeback on defense is right there. And that's because you have to understand that comeback on defense is a little trick that I'm using to get him more into the middle. Because you'll notice that when he's not on comeback on defense, he's always going to be sitting right in front of the fullbacks waiting to attack. We don't want him to do that anymore, because when he's there, once we get the ball, all he does is run in a straight line or a slightly slanted line. and make that run in behind, and that's a little bit uncreative, or it's a little bit too predictable. So we don't want to do that anymore. We want him on comeback on defense. One, because we want this formation to be as best as possible in defense. Two, because there's not enough punishment for attacking players that track back. The stamina doesn't get affected that much, and there's really not much reason to not put comeback on defense on your attackers, really, because there's not many consequences to it. So we have him on comeback on defense because, as I said with the trick, when he's on comeback on defense and he's moving around trying to track back, mark players, when we get the ball for the counterattack, he's not going to be in the same position as he normally is. So he's going to make a lot more unique different runs on the attack. And instead of just running in a straight line past the fullback, he might be one second he might be in the striker position because there is no striker in this formation. He might be in the striker position and he might be making a unique run that the other team isn't expecting. The most important part of this formation is to be unpredictable. So comeback on defense is an important part. And then obviously cut inside, getting behind, and get into the box for cross. That combination is what turns him into a striker in the attack. We want these players to effectively be strikers in the attack because there is no actual striker, because Haaland right now, or the striker normally right now, is going to be like a lurking player. He's still going to be in the box and he's still going to be a striker. However, these strikers or these wingers are going to be ahead of him in the attack. So you're going to want Haaland right here. And then that takes us to our actual striker, which is unchanged at the moment. Stay central, mixed attack, because I have experimented with getting behind, I experimented with false 9, and really we say mixed attack because both of those are very good options. Getting behind makes him a very big issue on the counter attack. However, the only issue with getting behind is since he's not testing the defense of all times, he's not going to be beating the center backs in terms of through run. The reason why we say that is because the center backs are always going to have a head start on him because he's not going to be next to the center backs at all time. However, same with false 9. The problem with false 9 is that once you get the ball in the counter attack, he's just going to be right in the midfield. So it's going to feel like you don't have enough attacking options. So we found a perfect middle ground with mixed attack. So you're going to want to stay central mixed attack, and then you're obviously going to want to make sure your winger is the same as the other winger right here. Come back on defense, cut inside, getting behind, get into the box for cross. What makes this formation so good is the fact that because of a lack of a fundamental upfront striker, it allows the two wingers to tuck in closer on the attacks and make slanted runs in behind the defense. So this is going to be a lot more unpredictable to work with because there's not a lot of formations in the game that do that. You have to understand that players only make runs whenever there's space in that position to make runs. And when there's a lack of striker, those wingers are going to make runs into that striker position. And then that's going to be a lot more unpredictable because they're making slanted runs in. And then the striker is basically right behind them. So it's going to allow the two wingers to tuck in closer and be more contributive in the shooting department, and a lot more unpredictable as well because, like I said, there's not many formations in the game that operate the same way as this. So keep that in mind when you attack. And I know I said this earlier, but I can't stress this enough. You want to use your CDM as an anchor, and you want to be very patient with him. What I mean is that when he gets the ball, don't be afraid to just stop moving and just stay completely still and analyze your options. Let your players make movements. Let your players make any runs they might need to make. Let them notice any space, and just take your time. You have to understand that with the recent patch, with the midfield congestion issue, this player is not going to have that much pressure. Your CDM, he's not going to be stressed out. He's not going to be getting pressed like crazy. You're going to have a lot more time to think and stop with him. That's what made FIFA 23 gameplay so much more different. You were able to stop and think and take apart your defense. And this formation is going to be so good for taking apart defenses, primarily through the CDM. You can pass the ball to him and analyze your options and then attack from there, instead of just trying to force passes over and over again. Another way to think about that is the fact that you want to use this player to switch the ball constantly. Previously, what a lot of people did was that they would switch the ball from fullback to fullback. However, that's not only really ratty because all it does is keep the ball, but it also doesn't do anything in the attack. Really, the only benefit that has is that you get to keep the ball a little bit longer. What I'm saying is, let's say you have the ball on a winger or a fullback or whatever, passing to this guy and then passing to the next wing, because this allows you to go from winger to winger easily and switch the ball from flank to flank without wasting time and without losing momentum on the attack. And when you switch the ball, you're going to notice that the more you switch the ball in these scenarios, you're going to find that there's a lot more opportunities to find runs in behind, because you can't keep the ball on the same side of the field for an entire attack, because that's going to be incredibly predictable and you're limiting yourself from the creativity your AI and players can make. A rule of thumb that I think about when I attack is to prevent myself from keeping the ball at the same spot for too long. And that's really easy to do when you don't play with the CDM, because you can just keep the ball on the left side of the touchline on the left side of the field until you force away in behind. But you're just gonna make it harder for yourself. So use your CDM to get the ball to different areas of the field, and you'll notice that your players are making a lot more runs than you actually think. Also, another thing that I might as well mention for right now is the difference with this formation to the previous formation, where now the number 10 is on that cover wing. Previously he was in the cover center, but now he's on the cover wing. If you have a player that is like Salah, an attacking creative player, a shooter, a dribbler, things like that, having him on cover wing, just like the wingers in itself, when we get the ball back in the attack, he's going to be in a very unique position because he spent his time on defense running around, going to different spots. It's easy to confuse cover wing as him literally going to cover the wing. However, what it does is it allows him to be more creative in the pressing department. When cover wing is activated, it doesn't necessarily mean he only covers the wing. Rather, now he's attacking the other team's build up a lot more aggressively, because now he's willing to go to spaces that he was previously constrained from going to, if that makes sense. So now when you get the ball back, he's going to be in unique positions every single time. So that allows you to actually have an actual number 10. Now, if you don't have a number 10 and you don't want to play for number 10, you want to have an actual 3 midfield setup, you could do that. And you can have a, like a player like Bellingham or whatever, play that number 10 position. And you can have the exact same instructions that I put on this formation. However, you can just put cover center and that works, but that's a different formation that would operate a little bit more differently. So if you want to experiment with that, you absolutely can, but that's not something I'll be doing myself. And as always, if you found this video to help you improve on FIFA, if your performances on Weekend League are improving, if you like this tactic or anything like that, be free to like and subscribe. And also, if you have any questions, feel free to leave comments below and I'll make sure to answer them whenever I have the chance. But for this video, that's all.
Attacking possibilities for the bees' knees. Salah. A goal here, killing his team. Beautiful pass. Stoichkov. He cuts it back. Marcos Llorente.